Hello, welcome back. My name is Ari, and I have a treat for you. I don't actually know if this is a treat at all, but this week I'm gonna do a little bit of challenge where I want to read books that are gonna turn me into a vegetarian. And you're probably like, so you're reading cookbooks? No, I'm reading gross out horror books. So I've got 3 books right here that I am going to read. All of them are really gross food involved in some way. And as the B-roll of this video, I'm gonna be like showing you different vegetarian meals that I eat all week. So let's kind of like go through these really quick. First off, I have The Vegetarian by Han Kang. This is translated fiction. I believe it's out of Korea. The main character is a married woman and she decides that she just wants to be a vegetarian one day, but her family is like violently not okay with that. So they kind of like do really gross food related things trying to force her to eat meat. I've heard good things, I've heard bad things. Some people were really grossed out by this, but this was the inspiration for this video. Next up, I've got Tinder is the Flesh by Augustina Bezterica, and this is a dystopian future where like our meat, cows, pigs, chickens, is somehow poisoned and humans can't eat it anymore. So we take up human farming, and the consumption of meat is, you know, Soylent Green is people. So this follows I don't know if it's a man or a woman who works in a like butchering facility where they kill off the human food products. Ew. This is basically like commentary on our meat consumption and probably makes you want to not eat meat. The third book I have I think is going to make me not want to eat, period, which is The Troop by Nick Cutter. This is horror kind of in the vein of Lord of the Flies, where a Boy Scout troop goes to this island and this disease breaks out that gives people insatiable hunger, where they're literally going to eat like dirt and never be able to be full. So I've heard all of the gross things about this, and like I said, this one I don't know if it's gonna make me want to be a vegetarian or just make me never want to eat again. But we'll find out. I will show you the meals that I'm eating in between all of these books, but I'm definitely not going to be eating while reading these. Let's get into it. I typically eat 2 meals a day, which is what you're going to see in this video. So first, we were out doing errands, so we stopped by this place called Cotton Patch. I got broccoli, rice, okra, mashed potatoes, and potato soup. Then for dinner, I had Indian from Trader Joe's. It looks really gross because I forgot to record it before I mixed it all together, but it's just a prepackaged stuff and rice. All right, first book up is The Troop, which I hated, so I'm gonna rant about this. I started with this one because it was the longest and I was worried about getting it done in one day. So I did it. I regret everything. I should have DNF'd this. Like, I really, really should have. Basically, the plot of this is a Boy Scouts troop of like 14, 15-year-olds is on an island in Canada. Like, it's like a small island and they're doing Boy Scout things, right? So it's like a remote island, there's like a cabin and they're like earning wilderness badges or something like that. It's not important. And this other dude shows up to the island with basically like an insatiable hunger, and shit goes down because it's a horror book. One of the things that drew me to this book was seeing other booktubers reading this and being like, guys, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but the scene with the worms, bitch, this entire book is about worms. Like, the insatiable hunger is caused by a genetically modified tapeworm. The entire fucking book is about worms. There is no scene with the worms. There are multiple scenes with the worms. So, sorry. That was just a minor, not book related thing that pissed me off. There are 5 boys, and this is the personality of the boys. You've got one boy whose father is like a criminal, and he's got really, really bad anger issues. Like, he's angry all the time, and he's just like wants to beat the shit out of everybody. So that's kind of like the father like son. You've got this other kid, or his name's Ephraim. You've got another kid named Kent, who is the son of the police chief. He has very little respect for authority and for being told no or that he can't do anything, and he gives off really big college party rapist in the making. Like, that's his entire vibe. Then you have Shelley, who is a literal psychopath. Like, he wants to murder people. We're gonna come back to Shelley in a minute because that's the reason I wanted to DNF this book. Then you have Newton, who is like the butt of everybody's joke. He's fat, he's nerdy, he is really, really into the Boy Scout thing, so he's like the one that everybody picks on and is mean to, but is the most prepared for this situation, I guess. Like, he's really good at medical stuff, he's really good, he's like the only one who could start a fire on his own, like that kind of thing. And then you have Max, and as far as I could tell, Max is just like generic teenage boy. Max doesn't have like a whole lot of screen time in this book, so you could take a look at those 5 people and maybe imagine who may possibly survive out of there or not, and what the author's trying to set us up for being okay with kids dying, maybe. Anyway, so 3 of these 5 boys are just truly awful, and it's just like, I know men are like this, but I don't want to read about it when I'm trying to like enjoy a nice horror story. And the fact that like this is, to me, going into this, I was thinking like body horror, because it's the gross eating everything type of trope. But and I was prepared for that, and I was like excited to read that. I wasn't excited to read about really, really awful men in the form of teenage boys. Like, I don't want to hear about calling a girl a slut because another guy rumored that she let him finger bang her. Like, I don't want to read about that. And then the piece de resistance of shit that I don't want to read about, and I'm going to straight up spoil this because I think this scene isn't important to the book. It's important to building Shelley's character. It's not important to building the book. And I think people should know about it before they go into it because it is very, very traumatizing. There is an entire scene in here, like 4 or 5 pages, where Shelley is reminiscing on the time that he pleasured himself, jacked off, drowning a small kitten. So that's where I'm getting like serial killer psychopath vibes. Like, he has all of the traditional displays of like killing small animals, being really creepy, sexual release due to violence type thing. But I didn't want to read that many pages about a teenage boy touching himself while murdering something. And it gets worse from there. There are quite a few cases of like unnecessary animal cruelty in here, and I know that bothers a lot of people, and I want to make sure people steer away from this because of that. Overall, I'm gonna give it a 2-star, because it wasn't written in a way that I felt like the author believes and acts like these boys do. Like, I think he made conscious choices to make these boys awful people, but it doesn't mean that I have to enjoy it, even if I realize that it's his conscious choice, that he's not like saying that these behaviors are acceptable or anything like that. So 2 stars. I really hope the other two books are better.
Boyfriend wanted McAllister's for lunch, so I got a half and half with a veggie sandwich and a veggie spud, and then some half and half sweet tea because you can't do McAllister's without sweet tea. For dinner, we had a friend coming in from out of town who wanted Texas barbecue. So it's hard mode up in here. I got a delicious salad and a hand pie that was like blueberry lavender. It was delicious. The guys said the meat wasn't very good, so my meal ended up being best.
All right, day number 2, and I have read The Vegetarian by Han Kang. Now, the summary I had originally of this was pretty accurate. It's about a woman who becomes a vegetarian and her family doesn't like it. They don't understand why. Her husband, especially, and her husband involves his in-laws, so her parents and sister-in-law, or her parents and sister. It's also told from the perspectives of not the woman, so it's in 3 parts. The first part is from her husband. The second part is from her brother-in-law, so her sister's husband. And then the third part is from her sister's perspective, but we don't get the main character's perspective. It also isn't horror, body horror, anything like that. She becomes a vegetarian because she has a bad dream about a face and blood, and that's about the grossest thing that happens. This is more about mental health. And I feel like this book is trying to say something, and I'm just not understanding what it's trying to say. Because for most of the book I was confused. Like, I knew what was going on, but I didn't really understand why. The main character is schizophrenic. She's diagnosed with schizophrenia late in the book, but that's not really an important part of the book, so I'm spoiling it, sorry. But yeah, the main character just seems to be schizophrenic, and that's why she's a vegetarian. So nothing gross, nothing in this book that makes me want to be a vegetarian for sure. I do want to give trigger warnings in this book because there is sexual assault. That's about the grossest thing that happens, but that doesn't make me not want to eat meat particularly. So sexual assault, and it's just weird, but not the weird that I like. I don't know who to recommend this to. Maybe people who really want intelligent books, who are much smarter than I am, because I did not understand what was going on in this book at all. If you've read The Vegetarian and can explain what this was putting down that I didn't pick up, down in the comments below, let me know. But from here, we're gonna move on to the last book, and we'll see if this one decides that I'm a vegetarian now.
A little weird today. I've got rice cakes with avocado, everything but the bagel seasoning from Trader Joe's, and kimchi on it. And then this is toast with Nutella and bananas. It's just random shit I found in my fridge, honestly. For dinner, pad thai. Ordered some pad thai. It's vegetable pad thai, so it's vegetarian. That's it.
All right, wrapping this up. Tinder is the flesh. This is dystopian, and in the future there's a virus that all animals can catch, and it doesn't really harm the animals, but it is deadly to humans, and there's never been a cure or anything like that, a cure, a vaccine, anything discovered. And apparently humanity is so obsessed with meat, they have to have meat, so they start breeding humans for meat consumption, but they don't call them humans. There's very strict language around it, where you're not humanizing the meat, a lot of marketing behind it and stuff like that. Now, I didn't like this again. I know. My issue with this was it was very, very hard to suspend my disbelief that humanity would knowingly consume human meat. Some people, yes, I could definitely see. But this is like, there are scavengers who are trying specifically to get human meat, and they're like robbing graves and stuff like that. Like, I just can't suspend my disbelief that humanity is so obsessed with meat that they would do this. Now, there are a couple of caveats to this. First off, this takes place in, I think, Argentina. I know this is translated from Spanish, so this does not take place in the USA. So maybe other countries are a little bit more intense about meat consumption than America is. So that could be a thing that I'm just like missing based off of my personal perspective. But there's nothing wrong with the plants. Our main character in here is a guy who works at a meat packing plant, is like the right-hand man to the CEO of the company. And he's on a vegetarian diet. Also, like, plant-based meat products are so advanced, like a Beyond Burger or what like that. Like, all of that stuff is very, very good and easily replaces meat if you're a super meat eater. And it doesn't taste exactly like meat, but it tastes good enough that I would much rather be eating that than people. So, like I said, it was very, very hard to suspend my disbelief. Also, this book really isn't, like, the meat processing plant stuff goes on in the background. It goes on throughout this book, but the main theme of this book is grief. Is the main character's son has died of what I assume is SIDS. It's been a while, it seems, but he is very, very much mourning the death of his child and having struggles with that. So that's really the point of the book, I guess. There are a couple other things that really bother me in here. Like, I do want to point out this was written in 2017. This was published in its native language in 2017 and then translated into English in like 2020, 2021. It's like everybody's still afraid of animals because most animals have been destroyed. And this includes like pets, all the zoo animals, things like that. Because the disease isn't necessarily restricted to eating that meat and you get sick. You could get sick through like a scratch or a bite or something like that. So if your dog's playing with you and kind of like nips your hand, you're gonna die. The main character very often says things like, this disease didn't happen, this is a government conspiracy for population control. And it's like, that sounds like the people who think COVID never happened and that the government made it all up and absolutely no one died from COVID. Like, stupid shit like that is not is not appropriate in this day and age. Reading that pissed me off and gave me an outlook on the narrator that I don't think I was supposed to have, because this was written before people actually thought a pandemic was a government conspiracy. The other thing that you probably can guess, this has a lot of animal cruelty in it. So just, if you don't like animal cruelty, and this is like pet animal cruelty, where puppies, we'll just go with that. Cruelty to puppies. If you don't like things like that, or you can't handle things like that, definitely do not read this one. So that's everything. That was not particularly successful as far as reading goes, but that is 3 more books off my backlist, and none of them made me want to be a vegetarian. None of them really seemed as geared towards grossness as I thought they were. The first one kind of was, but it really, I guess I have a strong stomach and it just didn't really do anything. The other 2 were mostly about mental illness and not actually anything that would make me want to become a vegetarian. So, not successful for me. If you have any gross books that would make me become a vegetarian or vegan, leave them down in the comments below. I might try something like this again in the future. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Bye.